everyone, it's Dorcas and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a flip through of my 2018 bullet journal. Now, full disclosure, I was not very disciplined when it came to maintaining this thing all year, but there were still things that I learned on what to do differently and what to just leave behind and what to try as I moved into 2019 because I am doing a bullet journal again. So why don't we go through this thing together and I'll let you know what worked and what didn't work for me, and maybe you guys can get some ideas as you set up your 2019 bullet journals. So to start out with, my bullet journal is much smaller than typical bullet journals would be, I feel. This is an A6 size, and to compare, the Leuchtturm, which is a go-to bullet journal, is twice the size at A5. There's some pros and cons to being this tiny, which I'll go through later, but I really wish I had done my research before I started this one. This is my first one, by the way. I really wish I had done my research and seen what other options were out there before committing to this one. And this is the Stalogy A6, by the way. So let's just go through it. I found that the index wasn't entirely helpful for me because I didn't see myself referring back to it, and I didn't even keep up with numbering all the pages, to be honest. So maybe in the next one I'll either make the index much shorter, maybe only list the collections that I really need to access, or just go with a notebook that already has the pages numbered in. I don't know. This key, I also saw, what other people were using for their symbols, and I think going forward, I'm just gonna nix this whole situation right here because it just got way too complicated to remember what was the joyful note and birthday. It was too much. So I think next time I'm just gonna keep it to the basics: a dot for task, an X for completed task, migrated task, all of that, which I'll go through as I set up my 2019 bullet journal. Future log. And my first attempt at using watercolors in this one. The pages are really thin, but I found that I didn't have trouble using watercolors or a lot of the markers in this notebook, which I was really pleasantly surprised by. See, these were also using markers and there was no bleed through on the other side. My book list. I think next time I'm just going to keep it all the way real and do a spread saying books that I'd like to read but know that I'm not going to, because I had all of these recommendations and read maybe like a fraction of them. Same goes for movies, although I did really like this spread, so I think I'm going to transfer it over and try again for 2019 and really make an effort to fill in the movies that I've seen and my reviews for them. As you'll see, there will be a lot of blank pages because I just never went back to these spreads. I also think I did an entire collection of habit trackers. I'll go through them later, but for the entire year. So I think next time I'm gonna break it down month by month, and maybe it'll seem a little more feasible, but this was a little overwhelming to remember to go back to the beginning and color in the right mood and all of that. I would have loved to see how it all, like the spectrum that would play out at the end of the year, but this was just a little too much. Clearly I don't eat. Yeah, this was a little idealistic. I did like this page. I would just stick a post-it note and write down the list of things that I needed to buy at the grocery store, and when I was ready to go shopping, boop, I would just take it with me and put a different one the next time. So this is where the collection of different habit tracker startup. It was just too much. I'm definitely going to give it another go, but break it down into smaller chunks that I can actually digest or want to keep up with. See, these are too much. I wanted to do all the things because this was my first bullet journal. So this was my first spread, my first weekly spread. I actually decided to do this bullet journal, you know, at the beginning of December. I got my materials and then I really wanted to start it for the new year, but you know, somebody told me that it was silly to wait until January 1st when I can just, you know, get started now. There was no need to wait. So that's what I did. I started maybe 2 weeks into December, which was good because I got a sense of, you know, how I wanted to lay things out, what worked for me, what didn't. And I really liked this spread because it was simple and it still gave me space to, you know, write down notes and quotes and keep up with little tiny habits I was trying to change. I also like this size because if I was running late on planning the coming week, I was able to draft this up really quickly because it was so tiny. I didn't have to do this whole like ornate situation. And it still gave me some space. The only thing that I didn't like about the size was sometimes I had a lot to do and there was not a lot of space to plan it out in. So I like this 2017 end review. I had a little moment for each month of the year so that I was able to like trace back and remember the things that I'd been through. You know, my goals for 2018. I have to go and check if I actually did most of these. And the start of a new year. And we're already like a quarter of the way into the book. See, I tried this January vertical monthly spread, but I soon found out that I didn't really enjoy that one. I try to keep work on one side and personal to-dos and events on the other side, but it was just, I don't know, it didn't look cute. So I'm still keeping with the same spread as the beginning of the journal, but giving myself a little space to doodle. My washi tape collection, which honestly, I didn't really see the point of this. I just thought, oh, let me just try it. And what's the point of swatching washi tape? I don't even know. I can just look up above my desk and see them there. Now this swatch page, it was probably the page that I used the most in this journal, because I had just gotten my Koi watercolor travel palette, and because I wasn't sure how the colors would look on paper, you know, I did this little swatch page and I just kept referring to it all year. Still not much has changed, you know. If it's working, why change it? My little lettering practice doodles. See, so for February, I decided to change up that vertical situation and make it into an actual calendar so that I can see, okay, what's going on in the month, what do I need to prepare for? And see, and this is a time where I clearly didn't have enough time to lay out a whole spread, so I made it much simpler and easier. And this one I used the highlighter that was not very friendly to this paper. So this time I decided to use a Dutch door design because clearly I had way too much to do and not enough space to plan it in. So I, cut the tops of the middle pages and left the running weekly calendar up top so that I could see what events were coming up in the week. And then I used each page to write down, things that I've done, little journal entries so I can remember what I did that day instead of just the tasks. And I also decided to just track two things, sleep and water. And so I kept this, I really like this design and I kept this going for a bit. I often found myself having to keep a separate journal on top of my bullet journal because I didn't have enough space to just write down thoughts. And I went to Paris this spring and I was able to write down the things that I did each day with this Dutch door design. This is another full-on watercolor page, and I was really happy that the paint just did not seep through to the other side. For how thin it is, it's super smooth and I didn't have any trouble with bleeding. Definitely ghosting, but not bleeding at all. And I know some people also don't like when the page ripples, but I found that after a while, because it, stays closed and it just flattens out, and I didn't have any trouble with rippling really. You can feel some of the texture, but it's really not that bad. And this is a boo-boo, a mistake. I just forgot that I had the page turned the wrong way when I made this Dutch door, but whatever, it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, that's it. I really wish I had kept up with it more, but I think now that I have a better understanding of what the bullet journal is and how it can help me, stay on top of things. I don't have to do 10,000 spreads in the beginning because I'm just not going to use them. I think next time around, hopefully, will be a much more successful attempt. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching my little trip down memory lane. I hope you guys got some ideas. Definitely let me know in the comments if you're planning on doing a bullet journal for 2019 and any comments or suggestions that you'd like me to try. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you'll be notified of future videos. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!